Happy holidays from Smoke and Mirrors. It's that time of the year. Kenny, happy holidays to you, sir.
Thank you, my man. Happy holidays to you too as well. See, you got
Feeling
that
good, feeling good.
big old giant Santa Claus beard popping.
Ho, ho, ho. Yes, I'm trying
Yeah.
to lose. It's Velcro. It comes right off. I got
Okay.
it on Amazon from China.
Got you. I thought you was growing hair for LeBron.
Well, yeah, he's going to put on his head. Yes. That's what's going on right now. But listen, happy holidays, everyone. Smoke and Mirrors here. We are going to talk about what's happening right now in the world. So much happening to talk about as it relates to the vaccine, to COVID, to the numbers, to Trump. Will he leave? Won't he leave? So we're going to give it to you straight. No chaser. I'm Pat Hudson, Chi-Town native, with my good man, Kenny B. Kenny B, tell the folks about yourself. Where you from? Tell them about who you are.
I'm just a regular old, mixed kid from the Bronx, seasoned in Harlem, and then raised up in Atlanta. So, that's sort of where my perspective comes from. I'm a product of a single parent household, and, folks did what they had to do to get what they had to have in my life growing up. So, that sort of seasons where my thinking process comes from. So Nation of Islam is a big part of my background as well. So that also seasons where my thinking process comes from. In case folks wondering, is he crazy? Is he for Trump? Is he a Republican? Hell no, hell no. My number one priority is Black people. And then after that, humans just period. But right now, in last place in everything good, and first place in everything bad, not by our choice, just by the way that the system works. Yeah, the odds seem to be stacked against my Black brothers and sisters, and so that's who I stand with. That's how I vote. That's how I think. That's how I shop. That's how I live.
Absolutely, that's a huge point. And the second biggest point you mentioned there was that you mentioned that the Farrakhan piece and your hair, the way it's kind of going to. If you could just put a little part right there, I see the nation coming out. It's in you. Like you could just put a little part right there.
I'm genetically fruit of Islam, I guess, man.
There you go. FOI.
My hair grows. That's not by choice. It's just, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Speaking of is what it is, let's talk about this vaccine. This vaccine is what it is. Is Kenny lining up? Are you in line right now waiting to get the vaccine? Because you saw our leaders take the shot. We saw it from our television. They took it. They're like, you know what? I feel pretty good. I'm good. Except for that nurse that passed out in Tennessee. Except for her.
Yeah.
So our culture by nature, and obviously for obvious reasons, we're not naive, but we are reluctant to trust this type of situation. So what are you hearing? What are people talking about? And what are your thoughts on this whole vaccine?
Well, I don't know if I agree that we're reluctant to take it. I think folks say they're reluctant to take it, but what I'm seeing is Black leaders trying to push us to the front of the line to take it first. I'm looking at the governors in the states that we call, the governors that we think are our champions, Cuomo and Gavin out in California, making arguments. We got to make sure that Black people are at the front of the line to get this vaccine because it's affecting them worse than everybody else. And, when I look at the numbers, when I look at the numbers from the CDC, it ain't affecting nobody the way they're making it sound like it's affecting us. It is affecting the elderly in a greatly disproportionate way. I think of the 350,000 or so that we're up to now in COVID deaths, I would bet that about 290,000 of them at this point are people who are over the age of 65, and the small balance under the age of 65, and then even the smaller balance, in the hundreds, in the child and early 20 years. So with that few people dying from a disease, why are we rushing a vaccination out to make sure that people can't get it when the vaccination? When you don't do that correctly, that can kill more people than the disease is in the groups that aren't being negatively affected right now. So no, I'm not trusting that. I'm not trusting that, and specifically because they're trying to give it to Black men first. When have you ever wanted to do anything good for Black men first in America? Show me you want to do good for us first. I think we'll be the folks that the guinea pigs. Crash test dummies. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that we should want to be signed up for that. And then later on down the road, then they'll flip the script. And when it does come out that Black people were disproportionately negatively affected by the vaccine, when that's finally proven, the narrative on it will change from we pushed it to be we pushed black people to the front of the line to try it. It'll be, we want to thank those brave black people who jumped into the front of the line to test it out, knowing that it was still in its test phases and the sacrifices that they made for the rest of us to be healthy. So now that long answer to answer your question, no, I don't trust the vaccine. I don't trust vaccine makers. And I damn sure don't trust anybody that says put black people in the front first, not after what they've put us in the front for throughout history.
Good point. Good point. And it's the first time ever they've come up with a vaccine this quickly.
Right.
And they completely rushed this thing through in 7 months, 7-8 months.
Like
Unheard
microwave
of.
popcorn. Yeah, you know, like I don't microwave vaccines. Not for my children, not for my family, not mine.
So you have the folks that, and I'm not gonna call them conspiracy theorists, but they have actually questioned the fact that when you show these leaders on television getting the shot, looking at the video closely, saying, are they really being administered a shot? How do we know what's actually in that valve? How do we know it's not water? How do we know it's not just like a placebo or saline solution?
Right.
So they seem, and Fauci, you know, if you research Fauci, anyone knows this, you know, going back to the 80s, this whole thing with the HIV thing, you know, it's just, you always never really know his angle. You know, what's his, where's he really going with this? What's the push? Right. The crowd control, you know, who says that we need 75% of people have to get this vaccination for it to work? Who? I've never heard that before in anything.
Yeah, and can I hear from some other immunologists as well, who are just as highly touted around the world as Dr. Fauci, to hear what their thoughts are on it?
Right.
You know, this is just one man's opinion. He may not be lying, but he may not be right. And you know, that's it. This is a lot of trust that you're asking us to put in, when there has not been very much in the way of earning that trust put forward before. So the best indicator of future performance is past performance. And based on past performance, we shouldn't be lining up to be guinea pigs for a virus on a disease that you got to go get a test to prove that you have it. You know you got it if it's bad, right? You know, Spanish flu, wasn't it? They need a test to determine if you got the Spanish flu. You know, pneumonia, I can't breathe, right? But we've got a bunch of folks walking around positive with this disease, but that aren't necessarily sick. And then as well, when you look at how they come up with the numbers that they're touting, you know, deaths of corona versus death with corona. There's a thing called comorbidity. Comorbidity means that there were on the death certificate other reasons that you died, but you also were positive for corona. So they are going to say that, and this is not me, it's not conspiracy theory, this is just the process that they're using per the CDC. So if you had corona as well, they capture that as a death with corona. So you could have 2 months left to live with cancer, and you're 3 months into it after that prognosis, but you're still in the days to live category of cancer throughout your body. But if it turns out that you were COVID positive, that counts as a COVID death. You didn't die with COVID, you died with COVID. So of the 18 million people in the United States who've tested positive for corona, 350,000 or so have died with corona. That does not mean they all died of corona.
Yes.
So when you look at the comorbidity stats from the CDC, you'll see that roughly 6% of the people who died with corona died with no other comorbidity. So that's about, 20,000, 25,000 or so people who up to that point were relatively fine and nothing else wrong with them except for corona, and they died. That's 20,000 is a lot of people who die, but that's a far cry from 350,000 people that people are being led to believe in, that we're building this wall of fear around. So to compare 20,000 people dying from corona, 45,000 people die a year from secondhand smoke. They're not even smokers, but smoking killed them, secondhand smoke. And that's not even a crazy smoking society anymore. And we still have 45,000 people a year dying from secondhand smoke. So why are we jumping to give everybody vaccines and pump all these chemicals and drugs into Black people's bodies for a disease that, if we're that worried about 20,000, why are we not making cigarettes outlawed right now? Because 45,000 are just going to die from secondhand smoke. Another 450,000 are going to die from cigarettes themselves. So it just doesn't make any sense to me, looking at the math and looking at the history, that it would be a smart move for us to be jumping to the front of the line to test this vaccine out, to find out what they didn't get right in the math in the rush, and then allow them to use that information, that data, to make a better product for the people that were in the back of the line for a disease that ain't killing people as fast as they're making it sound like it is.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to manipulate numbers when you don't know what's in the pot of numbers. So, right. so they're telling us now that, you know, every day is September 11th. So every day we're losing 3,200 people. So it sounds terrifying. And of course, you know, news wants to sell that. But I think, you know, one point you brought up, they don't really talk about. I mean, at this point, we all know someone. Anyone that's listening to this right now, watching this, we know someone that either has COVID, or we know someone that knows someone that may have passed away from COVID. But we rarely talk about the recovery rate. You know, the percent of people that actually have had it and they've survived it. And
well, let me say this. Let me just clarify your point there. We may all know someone who died with COVID, but we don't all know someone who died of COVID, because remember, there's only about 20,000 people in the whole country who died of COVID and nothing else. Lots of people died with COVID,
and they never talk about that. So they never talk about that number.
That's right, because and that's what makes it seem kind of disingenuous to me. That's what gives me the pause for concern about the whole argument that's being put forward. Now, if you have family members who have these pre-existing conditions, if you have a family member who currently has pneumonia, don't go to a nightclub and then go hang out with them, because the data shows that a person with pneumonia and COVID is in really bad trouble.
It's not going to be a good look.
In bad trouble on their own, but a person with pneumonia and COVID is in really bad trouble. And then if they have some age on them, and then if they have some diabetes or some high blood pressure on top of that, those combinations, COVID will destroy those people. And so there is a danger, and I think there's a larger danger when we don't, articulate who's really in danger, right? We have this one-size-fits-all strategy, just lock everybody up, shut down every business, let's just keep everybody in the house. And then that's going to make people naturally reluctant to want to participate. Hence, you look and see the nightclubs here in the nightclub scene in Atlanta. It's the talk of the world. Like, how is everybody in Atlanta not dropping dead if COVID is as deadly as it is?
Atlanta is still open. Yes.
That's right. But when they go back to grandma's house and grandpa's house and all that stuff for Christmas, there's going to be too many more grandmas and grandpas who are passing away earlier than they should because you went out and hung out. So there is some, I don't, want to diminish the risk here to the groups that are most affected, people with pre-existing health conditions. If you have high blood pressure and diabetes, your body's already struggling for your heart to pump, right? You have high blood pressure, hypertension rather, or either. Your blood vessels are constricted. The blood is not getting all the way through as easily as it would for someone with wider blood vessels.
Sure.
And so your heart is working harder to get the same amount of work. Now you throw diabetes on top of there, where your blood is now thicker. So now you've got this thicker blood trying to go through a smaller hole. Your body's already struggling, and that's already too high in our community as well. So that's part of the reason as well why we're being affected more negatively in the Black community and in poorer rural communities as well.
Yes.
When you have a poor diet, your body's not in condition, in shape to fight the disease off, and then the disease hits you and you succumb to the other illnesses that you had. Your body just wasn't strong enough to fight COVID with the heart that you have and the thick blood that you have, or the high blood pressure that you have. Too much taxing on the system, and you pass away. So we've got to find that appropriate balance in that. And that's what's also bothersome, is that diet will do more for our people than a vaccination. But we're not hearing anyone on CNN. I'm not seeing anyone on MSNBC. They're not talking.
Well, that doesn't sell.
That's exactly right, because that's what they're trying to do, sell. They're not trying to. How much money are these vaccine companies set to make off 350 million guaranteed customers? How much money are they about to make, right? So those are some of the, that's a lot of reasons. And then based on past history and based on what the math says of who's really being most negatively affected and what other issues they have, if you remove those other issues, the comorbidity rate, the likelihood of surviving corona goes through the roof. My daughter is corona positive right now. She went through the whole stage of, couldn't breathe, all that stuff. All herbs is what we gave her. We gave her herbs, and green juice, and elderberry, and sea moss, and mucus busters, and now she's still COVID positive, but she's back at work in her house with a clear mind and strong body. So people will survive it. People will survive
now, Kenny, now, to your point, something we've never discussed. My daughter had COVID in New York. She was running 5 miles a day, working out, and realized she couldn't taste or smell food. And someone said, you need to go get tested. So she never did. She waited about a month or so, and they found the antibodies in her system. So she had it and didn't even realize, just walking about, her going about her normal day. So I think it's important also that we talk about health. And I think what we do for ourselves is so detrimental over time, even before COVID, as Black people, just what we don't do for our health by our diet. And what we do traditionally, you grew up eating what your grandmother told you to eat, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat. And it's just really, hold on. That's my great grandmother. Fried chicken.
Somebody just went upside your head. Somebody just went upside your head. You better not say nothing about my chitlins.
Don't talk about the chitlins. But we don't really care. I mean, the routine of just the lack of, and it's not just about food deserts. There's people that have options of where they can go and buy food. But when you can go to a Black neighborhood and there is a gas station that sells fried chicken at a gas station, and it's always a line in there in the morning.
Right.
You eating fried chicken for breakfast. So I mean, that's a whole nother conversation as far as today is concerned. But I am leery, like you, because I cities are destroying their economy. So the answer is not go home, lock your doors, don't go to work, just shut everything down, don't send the kids to school, because that's not going to stop the spread of this virus. I mean, just you can't just and at the same time destroying the economy. And then you got an outgoing administration that pretty much doesn't care, that recently just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to go play golf. And I don't know how many millions of people may lose their unemployment benefits here coming up at the end of the month here. As well as some other things. Yeah, so that's a whole nother conversation about 45 that we'll get into him and not want to let go. But I think it's really important. Chicago has shut everything down. I was there a couple weeks ago, and you can't even. Everything's closed as far as restaurants. Clubs have been closed for months. Restaurants, if they serve alcohol, they can stay open until about 7 o'clock. Yeah. But it's amazing how it's almost a self-implosion of your economy, just trying to stop the spread of this virus. And people, as you said, people are coming to Atlanta to celebrate their birthday, because you can still come here and do stuff and wear your mask and try and social distance and still live. Because at the end of the day, we do have to live.
Let's talk about that club scene our group a little bit. All right. Okay. Because it feeds into the bigger point of the economy, and I agree with you on that. Because at the end of the day, despite what, and I don't like what Trump did. That's some nonsense. On the other side, I understand an argument. Not that that's his argument, but if I was in that position, I could understand his argument for saying, look, we've got an issue with this. It's caused the economy to be impacted this way. This is how it's affecting American citizens. Yeah, I got $2,000 per American. I'm down with that. I'm down with a moratorium on the evictions, and I'm down with the moratorium, the extension of unemployment benefits. But what I'm not down with is sending tens of millions of dollars to Pakistan for gender studies. I'm not down with that. Why are we sending? Why is that part of the bill? Why is sending money to all these other countries part of the bill? To the point of billions of dollars. We're sending billions of dollars to other nations while we don't even have an economy going right now. So what? And for the small price of $600, why is $600 going to me? That's my question. I don't need the $600. I still have a job. You still have a job. There are families out there who don't have anything, lost everything, and might have had a small business they were operating on a shoestring budget, making it happen, making it work. They lost everything, but they get the same $600 that I get. Why are the essential workers not getting more money per month? Why am I getting $600 instead of essential workers who have to work at the grocery stores, who have to work at the gas stations, who have to work at the airports so that commerce can continue and so that we can survive as a people? Why are they not getting extra? So I don't agree with this whole $600 for everybody
blanket type of everyone gets it. Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, it's the welfare cheese syndrome. When you're hungry, you'll fight. So it's easy to pacify you with a little bit of food. What's the least I can give you to make everybody chill out so I don't have to do the right thing, the hard thing, and the right thing? So let me just give everybody $600, and then everybody who's not negatively affected by COVID will be in the celebratory mood, and we'll ignore and forget the pain of the people that $600 is not even going to get them caught up on their rent, and it's
Absolutely.
not going to buy them 2 months worth of food. So what good is $600 really? So the fact that this bill didn't get passed, it's unfortunate, but I don't see that makes someone an evil person. The fact that the bill was written in the way that it was, that's also unfortunate. And I think that that's more indicative of bad people and bad and greedy actors who are just looking to get some favor from people who have more power than the least of us, and making sure that they look out for them. Why does the Smithsonian Institute need tens of millions of dollars right now? They're not even open. Why does the Kennedy need tens of millions of dollars right now when they're not even open? What's up with that? Why did Nepal get hundreds of millions of dollars? Who's friends in Nepal with the king of Nepal that they're going to get a kickback for making sure that this piece of this funding got into that? But why does Israel need another $500 million from us right now? Why? So I don't understand why we're giving all this money on top of the money we've already given all these people. Right. So where is the real caring in that? And so from that perspective, if we're not going to look after the people who are decimated by Corona by staying home and sacrificing their ability to pay their own bills, to feed their children, if we're not going to give them enough to make sure that they can do that, then we might as well open back up, and everybody should share in the burden of having to get through this Corona crisis. But when we go back to the math though, right? The age group at these nightclubs, who's going to the nightclubs? You still going to the nightclubs?
No, sir.
That's right. Right.
No,
we
sir.
old guys at the nightclub, so we don't go to the nightclub anymore. We got on mom jeans compared to them, right? We don't even look like dad coming to pick somebody up, right?
Yeah.
When you dress your age appropriate, when you dress appropriate for your age. So when you look at the group that's going to the clubs, what's that? That's that 25 to 34-year-old, 20 to 34-year-old group, right?
Yeah.
You're talking a group of people that about 86 million people are alive in that demographic. Of that 86 million, fewer than 7,000 have died with Corona. Out of 86 million, fewer than 7,000 died with Corona. So we're stopping the whole world, and you're seeing what's happening. We're seeing all these kids in Atlanta partying.
Oh yeah.
If it was as deadly to them as we thought it was, they'd be gone. And since it is not, can't we keep the economy going? Can we get folks back to work while also taking care of our family members that might have? So if we have money to give every American $600 while the economy shut down, how much should we have to really focus that money and target that money on the people who are affected, their caregivers?
Actually do need it, yes.
That's exactly right. So we got the money when the economy isn't working. We would have more money then, right? If the economy was working, and it would cost us less money to take care of just the people who are affected and the people who are taking care of them. And we could give them more money, the people who are affected and the people that are taking care of them, so that you can have your cake and eat it too in this circumstance. But to just blanket vaccinate a whole country, a whole planet, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
At all. And I would love to be someone that has a great bit of share of stocks in Pfizer right now, or Moderna, because that's it's the hundreds of billions of dollars that they're going to make over the next few years is just ridiculous. But listen, so on the note of what's happening now with the outgoing administration, is it interesting that this current incoming administration is inheriting something? So President Obama, when he took office, he inherited this incredible debt recession from George Bush. So President-elect Biden is walking into this Corona situation. And he's saying, first 100 days, I want to do this. We're going to do this. So have you noticed that he's like coughing when he talks now? He's like, and we're going to, for the first 100 days, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So
Hey.
Biden is here, sir. Biden won. Now what?
Right.
So everything's good now. So the
We'll
push
see.
was to.
We'll see. You know, he won, and all we can do is hope that the overwhelming majority of African Americans votes were correct. Put in that trust was worth it. It's over now, right? Biden, Trump, you know, well, almost over. You know, Trump ain't quitting yet.
He ain't quitting.
Yeah, no, Mr. Persistence there. But you know, we're going to see. We're going to see. It was interesting, you know, the meeting that he had with civil rights leaders.
Yes, yes.
And interesting to note, you know, in watching that session, who our civil rights leaders are. You know, I didn't met none of them, so I don't know. You know, I didn't know any of the names. I don't know who's in charge of the NAACP anymore. You know, does SNCC even exist? You know, I don't know who these so-called civil rights
leaders. Yeah.
Yeah, the head of the NAACP Legal Fund, and some, you know, some African American women's groups, and of course Al Sharpton, and I think it's Mark Morial used to be the mayor of New Orleans. But
Yes.
you know, those are folks that were, you know, positioning questions and discussing the agenda on our behalf with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And you know, in some of it, you know, you come to learn that you know, there's the politics, man. So, you know, he won. Let's see what he didn't really promise us anything, you know, except that he would have diversity and a cabinet that looks like America. But
which to his point, so far he has done that. If these folks are appointed, I mean, he has done that so far.
So George Bush did a good job of that too, didn't he? You know, Condoleezza Rice,
Colin Powell.
What was the I think the Mexican American Attorney General,
Yes.
African American Surgeon Generals. But the question is not what they look like; it's what they think like.
Right.
You know, if you appoint, you know, what was Django, Samuel Harris's Django, right? The character he played Django, Unchained. You could put 25 black people like that on a panel, and it looks like, oh man, black people are overrepresented on here. No, black people aren't represented at all on there. That's not the thinking, and that's not that those folks aren't in touch with who black people are today and what black people need. So sometimes what they do is they find you have to be a black person that thinks like them in order to be the black person that gets to represent all black people for them. So we'll see. It's not what you say, it's what you do, right?
Right.
We're going to see what they really going to do. I don't have a lot of faith in Joe Biden, never have, but we shall see. You know, I don't have a lot of faith in just the Democratic Party, period. You know, Democratic Party was out there until Trump came out and started blowing up spots about all the nonsense that was in that bill. And again, not a Trump supporter, but if a clock says 12 o'clock and it's 12 o'clock, clock is right now. The clock might be broken, but at 12 o'clock, when that clock says the clock is right, whether it's broken or not. So at some point, Trump is going to be correct. Might not agree with his intentions, might not agree with his motives, but the fact is what the fact is. We don't have the money for all that stuff. And we got an economy shut down. We're giving away the farm. And Democrats were the ones who signed off on this. Democrats was acting like they got something for us. They just lying. So it seems to me that the Democrats and the Republicans both work for the same person, which is the rich party. And they are working to just control the not rich people. And that's where I have conflict with.
All right. So with Trump, I think he initially said, so what I heard was he said that, you know, this 600 is not enough. You know, we need to do $2,000, you know, per American and $4,000 per couple. That's great math, Trump. Good job. But I think, did he really mean that? Because he said, you know, because this next administration, you know, they're gonna hit it hard because they need. Is he just saying on the way out? It's kind of a poke that you know, I want to give you guys more, but I'm not going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But the Democrats, they're going to fail trying to make this really happen. So I kind of question the authenticity of him saying that, you know, it should be $2,000 per person. and then ensuring that it may not pass anyway. So
right, I don't.
Remember the source. It's coming from him. So
yeah, I don't disagree with it. I haven't heard anyone jump up and challenge any of the points that he made about that bill, though, about all that nonsense that was hidden in there, and and how that money could have gone elsewhere. How much over $600 can you give to American people who are struggling? Not to everybody, to the ones who are struggling, to the unemployment. Why don't you just increase unemployment by $600, right? Or something of that nature. Don't make it so that it obviously pays to be unemployed and not work. But at the end of the day, though, if those jobs have gone, why don't we put that funding there instead of sending $500 million to this country and $300 million to that country and $200 million to this country, but you only got $600. Now, as far as the $2,000 is concerned, my man, you know who I'm a voter for. Who did I vote for? Bernie Sanders. I wrote his name in. I got to tell you, when they was close, I was afraid that Biden was going to lose by one, and it was going to be like, Gunn and Alpharetta voted for damn Bernie Sanders. And I thought Bernie was going to come cuss me out. But Biden won by, he didn't need my one little vote. But that's who I voted for. My man has been talking about $2,000 from the jump for everybody per month. That's what we need to be doing. Everybody should be getting paid. The other countries are doing that for their citizens. How come we're not doing it for ours? And if we can't do it for everybody, at least we can do it for the ones that are struggling the most. It's doable. Japan is giving 100%. Canada's giving like 70, 80%. So zero. $1,200 for last people 32 weeks.
Right. So the problem is we are responsible for where this money is going. So just when this COVID relief plan was mentioned, so these PPE loans.
Yeah.
And there were so many millions of dollars that of fraud that took place. So I know so many people in Chicago that they were able to receive, checks for $40,000, $50,000 for their personal business.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even have a business. They were able to file the paperwork and just get checks on top of checks on top of checks to buy cars, to buy clothes, to buy that bag. So there's already information out there saying, look, that next $10,000 PPE loan, get ready because it's coming again. So I agree. So don't just say the money's out there and not be able to manage where the money's going. So, like you said, you don't need $600. So you look in your bank account like, oh, I got $600. Thanks, America. I didn't really need it, but I know someone that really needs it. But y'all just, just blanket, just sending it to everyone. So I do agree the way it's being managed. Don't just throw it out there and just, all right, guys, be quiet. There's $600. We can, go spend it. Yeah, so that's not going to solve anything.
Yeah, it just quiets down the allies of the poor, because you've just given them something else to focus on and be in a different mood, and they're no longer feeling the pain and the anguish of their fellow community members, their fellow citizens who are in as good a position as they are. It's just it's unfair. I don't think that Trump is a trustworthy character at all. I think that there was some motive there. I think, he's going to want to go back into television and popularity contest type of, fame and business when he gets out of office. So he's going to try to be, generous and magnanimous when he's walking out the door to, undermine, some of the negative stereotypes about him and truths about him. So, and we're dumb enough to fall for it. So if we fall, it's on us, I wouldn't even be surprised if Trump runs in 4 years as a damn Democrat.
Well, you mentioned pain and anguish. So, obviously he's trying his very best to kick and scream and say that it was taken from him. So his supporters, so what happens with them now? The Proud Boys, the folks that the closet racists that have been able to say, this is how I feel for the last 4 years. Yeah. So what happens?
You know how many black people in the Proud Boys? You know how many black people in Proud Boys? A lot of people think Proud Boys is a white nationalist operation. It's I'm not a member of the Proud Boys, obviously. I'm not a supporter of the Proud Boys, but I see the pictures. I see the leader. The leader of the Proud Boys is a Cuban black dude, and I've seen a whole bunch of black men in the Proud Boys. So there's something more to the Proud Boys than just we want white people to be in power and in charge. It's not quite that, but that's
not what they push. So I don't know what you're referring to, but as far as what you see, what we represent, they're not saying that, hey, we're not conservative white guys that want to take over our country. They're not saying we have black guys too. It's usually fucking Proud Boys right now. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this country back.
I'm not pro Proud Boys. I'm not.
Right, I'm saying, but that's what they're. That's not when you see them. They want you to know this is who we are. Right. We're wearing this hat. It's our country. They don't say we're diverse and we have other people that support what we're doing. They don't say that.
Yeah, well, it's just which ones are you looking at? Because sometimes I don't got to hear. You don't got to say nothing. The Cuban American, the black Cuban dude who's the leader of the Proud Boys. I don't care what's coming out of his mouth. I get what's coming out of your mouth. I can see your face.
I see you. Yeah.
You're okay. You're not the stereotypical Klansman. You're not invited into the neo-Nazis. You're not invited into the skinheads. You're not allowed in all those groups. So it doesn't make sense to me that they to lump them all together, right? You got to know what you're up against. And when you create a picture that's more convenient for you, you're not preparing for the reality. So we need to understand the reality of what the Proud Boys really are. But I get your point though about where is he leaving all those folks in a lurch? In a lurch. So that's where they deserve to be. So I don't, whatever happens to them, happens to them. They're not going to have the funding. They're not going to have the support. They're not going to have the access to power. They're not going to, have any of that, any of those benefits. And so now, how do they survive? Is that movement able to maintain its momentum without a president of the United States who continues to fuel it? When you don't have that fuel, do your people have enough momentum? You got to remember, right? In the 60s, Black people, we were getting our stuff going, right? But as soon as the politicians stopped supporting us, what happened to all of our civil rights momentum? What happened to all of our Black empowerment momentum? What happened to all of our Black nationalist momentum that we were actually gaining and seeing benefits from? I'm not comparing the righteousness of what we were doing what our families were doing in the 60s with what these knuckleheads and idiots are doing today in these racist groups. All I'm doing is comparing the momentum that they both have while they have political support. When our political support dried up, guess what? So did the momentum of that movement. I suspect the same thing is going to happen to these knuckleheads. Their momentum is going to dry up. But what's less fortunate for them, though, is that they're going to be all on Facebook and Instagram. Oh, yeah. And they've labeled themselves forever as part of these, persona non grata organizations. And that's going to come back and bite them on the ass long term, more so than, being a Black nationalist and standing up for Black people has long term, impeded the success.
Well, they actually have a base. I mean, post Trump, these ultra conservative news stations now. So Fox is not conservative anymore. So they have the One American News Network and whatever one that there's like the there's a couple of them that come out of the works that they're ultra conservative and they pretty much just say what they want to say and makes Fox News look like CNN. So
like Disney.
I mean, they're like So there'll always be a platform, man. So
make Fox News look like BET News.
What's that?
They make Fox News look like BET News with Ed Gordon.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. So so Trump doesn't want to go, but he has to go, obviously. And I think some people are relieved to hear him say, to make reference to this next administration, or to say, of course, I'm not going to just sit here and put up a fight. So people are concerned there would actually be some type of civil war. Yeah. So that was concerned with that. So more stuff happening in the news right now. So what's this big explosion? That there's no information. What's going on with that? What's your take on that?
I think that's one of Trump's amateur terrorists.
No one died. So I mean,
no. They found human body parts. I saw this morning that they found human body parts. So I'm waiting to see. I can't wait to hear what. I hope it wasn't a person who worked in the store or innocent victim.
Right.
I'm hoping it was the person who built the bomb. And if that's the case, what were their intentions with that bomb?
I think the vehicle was driving at the time. It wasn't parked. Wasn't a vehicle RV? It was an RV that was driving that exploded, or was it parked?
I don't know. know. Yeah, I don't know. I was doing some other stuff yesterday on Christmasing.
Merry Christmas, Kenny B.
Yeah,
what does Santa bring Kenny B?
Oh no! White people aren't allowed to sneak down the chimney in my house. Remember, I'm raised in the Nation of Islam. We don't. There's a Nation of Islam flag on the chimney, so Santa just skips over here.
Exit only. Smoke.
Only.
Exit only.
You come down here, you getting smoke.
You gonna get some more smoke.
Get some smoke. You come down this chimney.
Ho. Okay.
Yeah. So no, we but we I enjoy. people being happy and exchanging gifts with one another and just being in a good festive mood. I love that part, you know. What's funny to me about Christmas, right, is that, you know, I see people posting, you know, Jesus quotes and Jesus thoughts, and, you know, Jesus was non-judgmental, and Jesus wouldn't want us to be looking at each other and looking down on each other. Like, which Jesus are you talking about? You know, Jesus, Matthew, I think 10:34, I came to bring, not to bring peace, but to bring the sword. So it's funny to see how, as a society, though, you know, Christmas, everybody gets into their Jesus, but everybody loves the turn the other cheek Jesus, and just like everybody loves the I Have a Dream, Malcolm X, nonviolence, nonviolence. But there are other parts that we like to exclude in their teaching. So happy birthday, Jesus.
Okay. Hey, look, there's enough stories in the Bible. You can extract what you want and interpret how you want to. So that's one thing about, you know, for people that may not follow that may not be Christians, follow the Bible. They say that it's a bunch of stories and fables, and you can take what you want to and make it bend and twist to support whatever your point is. So, but I get what you think.
Sort of like social media, right? It's just
Bam!
Well, that's my opinion. That's your opinion. That doesn't make it fact. And your opinion shouldn't hold the same weight as the truth, right? When I get my new computer, it wasn't made in the United States, right? It was made in another country, people who speak another language, right?
Yeah.
And then they may not be very proficient in English, right? But we find a way, the individuals who built it. And then, but when I open the package here in the United States, the instructions are very clear for what I need to do to make this work. I don't need anybody to interpret it for me. I don't need any special, anybody to go to college to understand what, and so certainly if human beings can communicate exactly what the rules are to make something work the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
Surely we all believe God is smarter than us and more capable than us.
Absolutely.
So I guess I'm still lost in why we need so many people to interpret what God is trying to tell us. I think.
Why do we exactly? And why do we need Black leaders to represent what we think? What other, you know, nationality or group has leaders? Who are the Czechoslovakian leaders in America? Can he go?
Well, see, what does Black leader mean? Right? Are those the ones who we appoint to lead us, or are those the ones who are appointed to lead us as in lead us in the direction that they're being told to go
to lead us?
Right. So where a Farrakhan, I see him as a Black leader because he's telling us what to do. Be damned what anybody else thinks is best for us.
Right.
What is best for us.
Yeah.
We got other Black leaders who are told how to manipulate and control us and get us to fall in line, lead us in the direction that Democratic Party wants us to go in, lead us in the direction that the Republican Party wants us to go in. But who's leading us in the direction that our people need to go in and because there's a place we need to arrive at. And it's a place where our babies are safe, where we have employment, where we're not in the terrible health conditions that we're in.
Food deserts in our communities,
where we're educated, where we love each other, where we love ourselves, where we don't, you know, want to engage at such a just a higher clip of in behaviors that sort of exemplify hopelessness.
Right.
You know, just the wanton just violence that we commit amongst and upon each other.
Right.
That's what we need to get to. Who's trying to lead us in that direction? And how come their voice isn't as pronounced, you know, by our friends in the liberal media, right?
Yeah.
Like liberal media, right? Who, you know, the liberals make all these movies, and, you know, liberals, right? It's not really a bunch of hard-nosed, you know, Donald Trump-like Republicans who are making all these movies in Hollywood. You know, when you go to Hollywood, what do you think? You're thinking liberal, right? You're thinking ultra-liberal white people, right? But when you look at what they produce as well, because I heard Ice Cube talking about this, that Hollywood media is one of the main architects of this negative stereotype of what's expected of us and what we currently get stuck in living in. But it struck me as odd and funny, you know, in a thought that when they make these movies about us, they never struggle to find a Black person to play a slave. But when they're But when they're making movies about Black kings in Egypt and other Black kings in Africa, so they can't find no Black people to play those.
Nobody's Black.
They make sure that they promote white people in those positions.
Nefertiti is a white woman now. Okay.
Exactly right. So it's that kind of mindful,
Message.
purposeful messaging. Exactly right. Is, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
Kenny,
Merry
man,
Christmas.
so much, man. We can go on for hours, but we won't because Smoke and Mirrors. We
Yeah,
just drop in and talk to the folks, tell them about what's going
that's
on.
it. That's it.
Give it to them straight, no chaser. The truth with a dash of humor sometimes. But happy holidays, everybody. Kenny, tell
Yep.
the folks what's next and wish them well. And we'll talk to them soon. Tell them something nice.
Yeah, I don't know what's next. 2021 is coming. Let's see. Hopefully, we see some better stuff happening. This Georgia election is going to make a big difference. Warnock and Kelly Loeffler. I love Raphael Warnock. That commercial they keep playing of him. You cannot serve God and the military. Yeah. So now news has come out. Of a altercation he had with his wife, and now he's a wife beater who ran his wife over with a car right before the election.
But listen, if you listen, so here's the smoke and mirrors. In closing, here's the smoke and mirrors of advertising. If you listen to the commercials from Kelly Loeffler talking about Raphael Warnock, this is what you hear. Raphael Warnock puts his pants on one leg at a time. Can you trust a man that puts his pants on one leg at a time?
You cannot trust God and the military.
And the devil. Raphael Warnock, every morning he wakes up and he gets up and he walks one foot in front of the other. Can you trust a man like that? Raphael Warnock.
Yeah.
You cannot trust, you cannot serve God and the military.
And that's a true statement. That's a true statement. Coming from two military men, that's a true statement. You don't do wrong just because the military told you to go do wrong.
Smoke and mirrors.
Bigger than the military. So you got to do what you got to do. All right, Smoke and Mirrors, y'all. Catch y'all on the next one.
We'll see you.
Peace.
Trust God and the military.
And
All
we
right.
out.